Hi, I'm Davi. Thank you so much for clicking on this video. If you're new, I am a university student studying computer science with a minor in cognitive science. I'm currently interning at Nike. So if you're interested in seeing my day in the life of being a software engineering intern at Nike, just go check those vlogs out if you would like. I'm be posting weekly vlogs of my experience through this internship, and I'm super excited about it. I would like to preface this video by saying that these questions are not the top 10 encompassing of all computer science degrees. This is just the questions that I've received the most from YouTube comments, Twitter, and Twitch chat. So I just wanted to preface that video. I would also like to say that my experience is my own, and different universities may do stuff differently. My university that I go to is not the hear-all, say-all for computer science degrees, and I just wanted to say that again, that I am just speaking from my own experience as a computer science student at my university. So let's just get into the video. I would also like to give a shout out to Hamza for coming into the Twitch chat. He came from YouTube and he came into Twitch and was very, very active, very engaging, and asked a lot of questions about computer science. So most of the questions were coming from him and a bunch of other people that were in the chat. So thank you so much for that. The first question is, can I just use an iPad Pro instead of a laptop for computer science? I've gotten this question 2 to 3 times now from different people, which I think is really interesting. But in my personal opinion, I do not think that an iPad Pro is sufficient to study computer science in college. I personally have an iPad. I have an iPad Air, but I use this iPad for notes. I take notes in class on this iPad, and then I study from paper. I'll be making a video about how I study when school starts again. But I love iPads, and I think if you want to go digital, go for it. But because computer science is programming, iPads do not currently, as of today, June 27th of 2020, iPads do not have the technology to create sufficient programming environments. You can download some IDEs, I think like PyCharm, to program some Python, but for the mass majority of it, you can't go into the terminal, you can't use MobileXterm, you can't connect to servers through an iPad, and which is what you need a laptop for. And so I think that an iPad is not enough to study computer science in college. Which goes into the next question, which is, which laptop should I get for computer science at university? So I specifically have a MacBook Pro 13-inch from 2017, and I think that you should just get the laptop that you think will work for you and what you need. I think that you don't specifically need a MacBook because I think MacBooks are expensive. You can afford it, yes, go for it. But I think that any laptop will do. There isn't a specific, this is the laptop that you need to be successful, because you could have a Dell, you could have an HP, or you can have the newest MacBook Pro that just came out. There are pros and cons for which system that you use, depending on your university, and I have made a video about why I personally chose Apple as my main ecosystem, if you would like to go check that out. But all in all, I don't think that there's a specific computer science degree, get a MacBook. I just don't think that is true. If you can't afford it, you can't afford it. There's perfectly good Windows laptops that will get you through college and get you to be successful. The third question is how to prepare for a computer science degree, if I have any tips on that. So I did actually receive this question multiple times, so I do plan on making a separate video in the next coming weeks to go more in depth with this. I think that this is a question I have gotten, and I think for the most part, you just being open-minded and being willing to learn, and especially being willing to be frustrated and understanding yourself. I think that computer science is a very frustrating degree. Programming just will never work the first time that you do it, and if it does every time, you're a very lucky person, because it is a struggle sometimes. So I think the biggest part is understanding yourself and giving yourself time to forgive and not be as frustrated, and even when you are frustrated, letting yourself calm down and removing yourself from the situation. I don't think that you need previous programming knowledge to go to college to study computer science, because right from the get-go, they throw you in there with people that have been programming from 10 years, from when they were 2 years old, for programming for 5 years, from in high school, or absolutely no experience. So everyone starts on the same playing field, and they all go in and they teach you projects and stuff like that. So I just think it's being open-minded and willing to learn. And it's definitely a difficult degree. The next question is, which language is the best to start with? And this was actually such an interesting question to me because I did do a hackathon, I think 2 years ago, where the project that I did was helping people was a website to help people pick which languages to use and to begin with. So I think that's super interesting. There is not just one language, like learn Java first. You should always learn Java first. Like, I don't think that's true. I think it really depends on what you want to do and what you want to build. So for example, if you want to build websites, make websites, Java is not the language you want to start with. You want to start with HTML, CSS, and stuff like that. I just think it really depends on what you want to do. I don't think there's a language that, like I said before, like is the one that you have to start with. My university started with Java, but I know some universities that start with Python. So like, it just really depends on your university. And so if you are wanting to, if you're like in the summer before your freshman year and you want to get a jump start, I would definitely look into the curriculum at your university and see what languages are being used in the introduction class, so you can just learn those before you start. I think that's a really good tip. And if you're in high school and you're wanting to start in programming, I think that Java and Python are really good languages to start with. They're very encompassing, and like, it is a good language to learn as many companies use it. I'm currently using Java in Nike and stuff like that, and a lot of Python as well. So it's good to learn multiple ones. But I think that it's good to look into the curriculum of your university that you're looking at to see which languages to learn. Or if you already have a project in mind, like you want to build an app or you want to build a website, looking at the languages that help you do that. So yeah. The next question is, how much math is in a computer science degree? And I think this is a super interesting question because I did go into college thinking like, oh my goodness, I'm gonna have to take all of this math. Math is almost like computer science and math are just like hand in hand. And it was a lot of math, I think. I did IB in high school, so International Baccalaureate. And the math credits that I got from taking my IB Math SL, I think, didn't transfer over into my specific university, so I had to start with pre-calculus. So the math classes that I have taken in my university was pre-calculus, calculus 1, calculus 2, calculus 3. Pre-calculus and calculus 1 were required. And then there was 12 credits in the school that I was in my computer science degree that I needed to fulfill. There was 12 math credits. So within that, I took calculus 2, calculus 3, and statistics. There's a bunch of different options you could take, like algebra, some higher level math, and just stuff like that. And then within the computer science department, there was discrete math, which wasn't really like math, like, integrations and stuff like that. It was like theoretical, like P then Q. I actually really enjoyed that class. My professor was my absolute favorite professor I've ever had in my life. Shout out to her. But yeah, I think so. And then pre-calc, calc 1, calc 2, calc 3, statistic 5. So 6 to 7 about. And again, it depends on your university. I think this question is kind of difficult to answer because my university is not the say-all be-all. But for me specifically, within my degree, I have taken 7 math classes and I am done. So next semester, I'm only taking computer science related classes. And in the spring, I'm only taking computer science related classes. So I am done with math now. My friends didn't take Calc 2 or Calc 3 and they're still getting computer science degrees. So it's very open on which methods that you can take, which math classes you can take, but you do need to take at least 6. So yeah. This next question I thought was super, super interesting actually. Is it true that in your first semester you learned quite a bit of theory about the first computer and how programming even started? For my specific university, no. My first class was the Introduction to Computer Science, and it was Java. I did a lot of projects and labs of just hands-on Java. I think he touched like 5 minutes in the first lecture about how computers were started, and that was it. We didn't talk about the theoretical part or theory of any of that. I did have to take theory of computation, which was essentially discrete part 2, and that was more not really like the theory of computers. It was more of like discrete, like P then Q and stuff like that. Honestly, I don't really know how that class pertains to anything in life. It was interesting. It was really hard, but don't really know. And then this past semester, I took computer graphics, and that class went a lot in depth about how computers were made and stuff like that, but that class was an elective. So at my specific university, I did not learn about a lot of theory about the first computer and how all of this was built to begin with. Just thought it was really interesting. It's really hands-on and a lot of actually programming and sitting there trying to solve problems, which I think is good, because in the real world, they're not going to ask you who built the first computer. They're going to ask you, how can you solve this problem, you know? And so that was just my experience at my university. This next question is one that is asked a lot, and I think is a huge misconception about computer science. Do you have to have previous programming knowledge to do well in your first year of college? The blatant answer to that is no, you do not. I said this earlier in the video, like, you can pull up into class with absolutely zero programming experience and still succeed. And you're sitting next to Billy Joe Bob that has been programming for 15 years and next to Nancy that's been programming for a year. Like, you're all on equal playing field. Yes, will Billy Joe Bob understand things easier than you? Probably. But that's just like how life is. Not everyone is not equal. You're gonna have to work hard to do well. And so you do not have to have previous programming knowledge. You need to understand and do well, study, put the time and effort into it, but you can definitely succeed. I myself did have previous programming knowledge. I did this program called Girls Who Code. Highly, highly, highly recommend it. I highly recommend it to any of the girls that are super interested in programming and want to see how it is before you get into college. It is a 10-week program in the summer, and I learned a different language every single week. And that program genuinely, like that is how I chose to be a computer science major. Like, I absolutely loved it. I fell in love with programming and all of that. And so that was just me. But my best friend, she didn't have any programming knowledge before she went into it. She was really into art. And so she's out here succeeding with me while thriving. So the blatant answer is that no, you don't have to have previous programming knowledge to do well. I just think that the concept of a hard class is very personal, because if something is hard to me, it doesn't mean it's going to be hard for you. I just think it's all about studying, sitting down, grinding, and doing well. This next question, I think was very, very interesting to be asked. It was, do I burn out a lot? I personally do. I think that programming is really, really frustrating, and which also goes into the next question of, is programming frustrating? I think I'm going to answer these two questions in itself. Yes. Programming is incredibly frustrating. It almost never works the first time that you try. And I'm someone that is very, very determined to figure out the problem when I'm right there and I'm thinking about it. And so, like, when it doesn't work, I will sit there and I will stare at my computer. I'll be writing down notes trying to figure out why it's not working. And I'm, like, thinking ahead, like, 4 or 5 steps of, like, okay, but if I do this if statement, then this is going to do this, then it's going to do this, and then it doesn't work. So, it is a struggle. And I really had to practice time management. And I do think it is important to manage your time. Like, you can't be sitting there for 6-7 hours focusing on one problem. And that is something that I have done, and I do not recommend it. So I was sitting there in my second class ever of computer science, and we had to build a progress bar. So essentially, like, you know, when you type into Google and the little blue line is loading, the amount of code that goes into that is literally 3 lines, but where you put it was so important. I am not kidding, sat in front of my computer for 40 hours in 2 days. I literally sat, and I only went to sleep once. Like, I literally sat at my computer trying to solve this one problem of a progress bar. And when I figured it out, it was literally 3 lines of code. So yes, I was burnt out. I was so frustrated. So in my personal opinion, the amount of frustration, no matter how frustrating a project is or an assignment or a problem is, the feeling of accomplishment that I get when I finally figure it out completely outweighs all of that frustration to me. When I finally figured it out after 40 hours staring at my screen, I was ecstatic. I was up, I was screaming, I was yelling, I was calling my friend like, yo, I finally figured it out. And I was so excited. And all of those hours that I spent frustrated were okay. But that's just me. Most people aren't like that. They just get frustrated and like, I don't want to do this anymore. But to me, this is why I love programming so much, is because I get up and I'm like, the feeling of accomplishment of finally figuring out completely outweighs. You just need to practice self-care and just things that you enjoy, which for me is video games, and just like balancing your time. It is frustrating, you will burn out, but time management, self-care, forgiving yourself, it'll all work out. The last question that I have received was how to create a good friend network. And I thought this question was very interesting because for me, I just don't think I would have gone through college the way that I did if I didn't have my two best friends. I absolutely love them, and we take all of our classes together. Like next semester, one of my friends, we have the identical schedules. So the way that I met my best friend, I was sitting in the introduction class of computer science, and the first day they had us split into groups. So I was with two random kids, boys, and I didn't know who they were, and I was just like, oh, okay, this is cool, and we had to print Hello World, and it was cool. And then the next time I go into that class, I'm sitting there in the front, and a girl sits next to me, and then they say split into groups, and she's like, do you want to be my group? And I was like, yeah, sure, why not? And that is literally how I met my absolute best friend. We went from just sitting together next to each other because we were girls to we take all of our classes together, we program together, we do all of the homeworks together, the projects together, we study together, and she's just such a beautiful light in my life. And I think that friends are really important in college. College in itself is very difficult, and it's easier when you have people to share it with. So I do think it's important, and to create that friend group, I just think about just saying hi. Freshmen are all sitting together in this class, and everyone is new. Just saying hi can make someone's day. If you were a girl, because in my experience, the classes were filled with all boys. If you're a girl, sitting next to another girl can create you this lifelong friendship that you could have. And you never know, you could just make someone's day by just saying hi. And so I just think that like you're sitting together, or you're just like, hey, do y'all want to go get lunch or something? Do you want to go study for this test that we have next week? So, stuff like that, like creating study groups. The friends that you make in college are not the same that you make in high school, for the most part. So yeah, definitely making friends. So I hope that you enjoyed my perspective on all of these questions that I've received. I really enjoyed it. I thought it was fun to share a bit more about my experience and what I go through. And I hope that the information that I shared was helpful to you. I hope that you will go into college full force and completely enjoy computer science, as I absolutely love it, and I hope that you love it as well. So again, thank you so much for clicking on the video. If you would like, you can follow me on Twitch and on Twitter. And yeah, thank you so much, and I hope you have a beautiful and blessed day.